Welcome back, everyone. Welcome back to Pukekohe, and a beautiful day here. A little bit cloudy, but we had rain yesterday, and I'm glad to say, as you can see, we're set fair for some more great racing this afternoon. Now, we just saw some 86 action, and those are the tin tops that will be in action. Where do we find those drivers? Well, you're looking at them, because right now, coming out on track, it's the high Q components NZ Formula First Championship. And I have to be honest, having come to New Zealand over the last decade and watched the Toyota Racing Series and the 86 Series, I wanted to know where Scott Dixon came from, where Liam Lawson learned to drive a race car. And guys, this is where it all begins. I'm delighted to be joined by Geordie Peters, who's the media manager for this series. And Geordie, I don't know, there's a sense of anticipation with the field out here today in just of what we've got in front of us.
Yeah, definitely. Like you said, all of our young stars from New Zealand motor racing, most of them have come through the highly successful New Zealand Formula First Championship. You mentioned Scott Dixon, Liam Lawson, Shane Van Gisbergen, Richie Stanaway, Nick Cassidy, to name a few more, and we're getting set for another exceptional race here at Pukekohe Park.
I'm sure everybody will ask, as we look at the grid, Chris Simon, interestingly enough, the teacher from Palmy, is in pole position ahead of the champion, Reese Hendel-Cox, and it's going to be a real battle between those two. Great qualifying, her best by Amy Smith of the year. She's on the second row with Liam Foster. That's going to be a good battle. The youngster, Matthew McCrutchen, in 5th position, and Lewis Retshaw. Aston Addy, another of the rookies, down in 7th place. Ron Carter, one of the older fellas out there, and that's what I love about this championship. It's open to all. Bree Morris, she had a crash yesterday, but they fixed the car, and the former Carter is out there against Liam Nicholson on the back row there, or backish row, and she's got to come through from there. But she's quietly confident. They fixed the car last night. A lot of good work going on that, but she hit one of the corners pretty hard, but she shook it off.
Yeah, exactly. Luckily, there wasn't too much damage on the car there. Just plucked the front beam off its mount, so the crew took it away, got it fixed up, and she's out there for today's race. Before
we get to the start, quickly, I mentioned that there's some older guys and some youngers. We've got Matthew, who's just 16, some guys 14, 15. I mean, what is the combination? Who goes Formula First racing?
Well, it's an incredibly diverse field, and like you say, it's anyone who wants to go out and have some close racing at a reasonably low cost. We've got guys as old as in their 50s out there, and we've also got teenagers out there who are 12, 13 years of age. So it's everyone from across the board out there enjoying some fantastic racing.
Well, this is going to be an interesting season of racing, because these guys are dialed in, they know the track, and it's going to be interesting in terms of racing too, because they're all almost identical. VW engines, 1200 cc's, and not a lot of adjustments, road tyres, and this is where it all starts, folks. Here we go then. Good front row between Chris Simon and Reese Hendel-Cox, the champion. He's on the right-hand side of your picture. They hold him quite a long time before the start. Revs are up. Everybody's starting to look a little pensive now, because the grid is formed, but they're holding them. Now the revs go up. And go the lights, away we go! And a good start from the champion in 2nd place. He's got the lead over Simon. And Chris will be really annoyed with that, because he knew he had the pole position last time they were here, if I'm right in saying, Geordie. 5 across the line, 0.2 of a second between them.
Yeah, it was an incredibly close race, and that's what we're accustomed to seeing here with this fantastic category. It's not unusual to see those kinds of close finishing results. So as you can see, we've got a massive freight train heading down that long back straight and into the complex, where we'll see some great late braking manoeuvres.
Yeah, now unlike other forms of racing, the real overtaking in Formula First happens on the straights, basically in the drafting situation. It's not so much under the brakes, and I was surprised to hear that, because I was expecting with a track like this you'd be under braking, but really the overtaking is on that long straight, on the front straight, and into this last back straight corner in through this complex. So now already the field starting to spread out, and now Chris Simon and Reese Hendel-Cox are in their own battle at the front in this first lap.
Yeah, like you say, it's all about the strategy in Formula First, getting that draft right and making sure that you time your run to the finish line so you can get it ahead of that competitor. Make sure you can take advantage of the hole being punched in the air from the car in front.
Yeah, we talk about how close it is in qualifying. Less than a second between the top 6. That's how competitive this is. And making up the positions at the back as they spread out already. Side-by-side racing here. And Pendle Cox leads the way from Simon. In third place, Amy Smith doing a really good job. She had a huge Cheshire Cat grin on her face when she got out of the car after qualifying. She said, that's my best qualifying of the year. And she was really pleased with it and really hopping about and really enjoying what was a great qualifying session for her. And she really wants to turn it into a podium. She's ahead of Liam Foster. That's her closest competition right now. Good start from Lewis Redshaw, one of the youngsters. He started well in fifth.
Yeah, Louis done exceptionally well. He had some pace last time out. Just had a couple of issues which held him back a wee bit, but he's out there now, sitting in fifth place, his highest ever, I believe, currently.
Yeah, I was talking to some of the drivers about how much, with a big meet like this, you've got a lot of different cars from V8s to 86, all putting out different forms of rubber and also making it therefore a little bit more slippy for these road tyres. So a lot of these guys complaining about slip sliding away, but what can you do? Adjust the pressures. There's not a lot of adjustments you can make, really. No,
there's not, and like you say, they are running a road tyre, so the tyre isn't as sensitive as what we're used to seeing, you know, in TRS and the 86s. It's a fairly hard compound, so tyre pressures is sort of all you can do to manage your tyres, and then it's real basic suspension adjustments.
So the field's starting to spread out now, but we've got some distinctive battles, especially at the front. Pendle Cox and Simon going at it, wheel to wheel, and they're doing the same in the championship. Amy Smith holding on to third place ahead of Foster. Foster in third, Louis Redshaw in fifth place, and then Leo Scott. Good start. Oh, big crash. Oh, two cars going off heavily there, and one of them, the number 42.
That's young Matthew McCutcheon, our Speed Sports Scholarship winner, and Leo Scott from Whangarei. Two rookies just tangling there at the turn 2 S's.
Well, that's a shame, and I know that Aston Addy will be pleased because he's in that battle, but that was nothing to do with Matthew McCutcheon, I'm afraid. He just got caught up in that, could go nowhere after, as you say, he basically went on the inside and he couldn't get out of it, and that's a real shame for Matthew.
Yeah, Leo just lost it over the curb there, and Matthew couldn't quite get around him.
Of course, he's used to being in the dirt. He's a midget racer, isn't he?
Exactly, he's a speedway driver.
But he doesn't want to be in the dirt today.
No, not in the form of the first championship. Oh, it looks like we've got a safety car out now to retrieve those stricken vehicles.
Well, that may change the complexion of this race. Yeah, we were just talking about Matthew McCutcheon, a former midget racer, and was talking about the transition from effectively the dirt to road racing, and yeah, suddenly they're both stuck. So Leo Scott, Whangarei, and Matthew McCutcheon had a good chat with his team yesterday about, he's one of the few guys who's really got everything dialed in from a point of view of feedback, because he's got literally all the sensors and giving him literally how much he's on the power. They've got GPS, they've got everything, haven't they?
Yeah, the Sabre team are running a pretty exceptional data system down there, and like you say, he is really tuned his feedback, and with that experience in the dirt, we often see that with the drivers. Shane Van Gisbergen, Nick Cassidy, Richie Stanley, they all actually did dirt racing before they came and raced with us in Formula First. It's a great place to hone your racecraft.
Well, Matthew said exactly what Nick Cassidy said to me a few years ago, which was the dirt just teaches you that feel. You drive with your bum, effectively, because you can feel when the car starts to go and starts to sort of drift away. Yes, you can look at the data. And I said to him, you know, you're just learning this. Doesn't it kind of put you off having all that data to look at? And then Dennis said, you know what? What we're actually doing is we're concentrating on one corner at a time. And then basically we're not filling his head full of data where we stop him from racing. Because that would put me off if I had to learn all the data, how to race, and be fast at the same time. Here's another look at these two stuck in the gravel. That's why we've got a safety car up at the moment. Leo Scott and Matthew McCutcheon. I wouldn't have thought there's probably a lot of conversation going on between those two at the moment. Matthew leading the rookies at the moment, and he will not be happy to have missed out on all these points. He's still in the car, and I guess he wants to get going again, but what a shame. Here's another look at it. Yeah, he was, I don't know, how did he get into that position? That was a weird one for the 97, wasn't it?
Yeah, it's just one of those wrong place, wrong times for young Matthew there, but Leo Scott just ran a bit wide, grabbed that curb, and unfortunately lost the back of it.
Now, if he was a Scott Dixon, the dust would settle and just like IndyCar, off he'd go again. But unfortunately, it's not that way.
Yeah, it doesn't look like there's barely any damage on both those cars. So hopefully we should see them finish the race. You just saw Matt there being pulled out of the kitty litter.
Let's talk about the car while we're under safety, because like I said, not a lot of adjustments. I was asking some of the drivers, what's the biggest adjustment? And they were saying PSI, actually, because that's pretty much, sure, you can do ride height, there's a couple of things, but why don't you just take me through the basics? 1200cc VW engine, they'll start with that.
Rightio, so like you said, it's that basic VW engine out of a Beetle from all those years ago in the 60s. Then we've got the transaxle from the same car, the Beetle, flipped upside down actually, to run in the back of these cars. Then we've also got the standard front beam, which you'll see there on the number 34 car. It looks like a front wing on there, but it's the front beam off the VW Beetle. That basically completes our front suspension. Very, very basic torsion bar adjustments through there. In the rear, we've got a couple of different systems. A couple of guys are running a push rod system like you'd sort of see in a Formula Ford. Or a more modern open wheeler, and some guys running a zero roll like the guys at Sabre there. So there's real basic adjustments such as different types of springs and then your shock adjustments, bump and rebound.
The other thing, drum and disc brakes used, but it's kind of like which you prefer. The drum I think is heavier, but you know, you can use either, right?
Yeah, exactly. It all basically comes down to driver preference almost. There's not really a competitive advantage out of either of them. I mean, if you look at the last 15 championships, the vast majority have actually been won on the older drum brakes, which the drivers seem to be most comfortable with.
Yeah, I was talking to Reese Hendel-Cox about it, just that. And I said, oh, you choose the drum brakes. And I said, why is that? He said, it's just what I'm used to. They're heavier. I prefer them. And he said, actually, when you go over the rumble strips, they actually react a little bit better. They're a little bit more stable. And I just trust them more. He said it's personal feel more than anything else.
Yeah, they're a lot more forgiving, especially in the wet when you get this road tyre out there. There's not much grip out there, so the road tyre just, the drum brakes just enable you to sort of prevent locking up, and it's just a bit more user-friendly.
Well, we're going to have a sprint finish for this one when the safety car comes off, and in qualifying there was just 0.155 between Chris Simon, the assistant principal, I'm told now, in Palmerston North.
Yeah,
so he's gone up in the world.
He has.
So if you're tuning in, kids, and you're watching the assistant principal, he's going for it. He's in second place at the moment.
Yeah, exactly. Chris is an exceptional driver. He's been there for a number of years. His father, actually, Ross Simon, a 4-time champion of the class. So he's certainly got some of the best advice in the field in his corner.
There's a lot of father-son combinations. Foster's another one, isn't it?
Yeah, you're right. Ian Foster, the father of Liam Foster, 2009 Formula First champion. We've also got many other champions floating around the field. Paul Butler, he's a former champion. Dennis Martin, too, who is in charge of Matthew McCutcheon in that Speed Sports Scholarship car. He's a 2-time New Zealand Formula First champion with 65 race wins.
So the safety car leading them through, and this is sort of standard procedure. It slows them all down. They try to keep the tyre temperatures up, although these are road tyres, but they still get warm, and you want to keep the temperature in them either way, get the most grip out of them, make sure that they're working on. And of course, we've got the new safety car this year as well. We've got the Toyota Supra out there, and that's a very, very popular car. I would love to have a sit in that car. As soon as they launched the new Supra, I was a big fan of the old Supra, but the new one is taking the world by storm, and it's our safety car. No big surprise there, but I'd love to have a sit in that passenger seat.
Yeah, it looks exceptional, doesn't it, Jonathan? And I'm told it's got a very, very good performance too.
Yeah, looking forward to, of course, the 86ers and the Toyota Racing Series starting in January, all live on Sky Sport. We're really excited to be bringing this to you live on television. It deserves it too. This sport doesn't get, I don't think, as much credit here in New Zealand. I race around the world, just come back from Macau in China. I race a lot in the, and do commentary both in Europe and the USA, and I've never seen such a great depth of field. And as I said before, always wanted to cover Formula First, simply because this is where the stars of the future, this is where the Earl Bambers, the Liam Lawsons come from. And it's so exciting to watch these guys and girls go through their paces at this level, and maybe get somebody watching on the sidelines going, that kid's got it.
Yeah, exactly. You never know who is out there watching, especially now we've got this fantastic new Sky TV deal. You never know who's watching and who's going to pick up on the next young Liam Lawson or Scott Dixon.
Well, they're all looking for sponsorship, but right now it's the champion from last year. Back-to-back title, he fancies it. He was telling me, I said, why did you come back and race again? He said, because, well, I've got a car waiting in the garage for next year, but I fancied another go at this year. So here he is, holding on to his title. The green flag waves, we're racing again, and this is Simon's chance. He's in second place at the moment, but here comes the 48 of Liam Foster into third place. Amy Smith losing out there at the restart.
Yeah, unfortunately for Amy, she's just dropped back a bit. Now we've got Lewis Redshaw, who's jumped on the back of that train, and looks like we're going to have an exceptional few laps here to run to the flag.
Yeah, 6 of the 8 laps gone, so not a lot of time to sort things out. The Rookies Championship with Matt McCrutchen out is also lit up now because he's out of this race, and so we now look towards the likes of Aston Addy, confidently going about his way. He'd never raced before this season, and now he's straight into the thick of it here in Formula First. So, Simon and Hendel Cox going at it. Chris Simon now leading and just at the right time. But the trouble with this sort of racing is I'm not so sure you want to lead until the very last lap.
No, you're exactly right. It's a bit of a poison chalice. It's great to be leading on that last lap, but the draft is such a big effect that, I've got drama down there with Bree Morris and Aston Addy. It looks like Aston slid up out of the corner and Bree's collected her, so that's not a good start to the weekend for Bree. 2 crashes in a matter of days.
Well, that was the front end of Bree Morris's car, the 16-year-old former karter, and they just fixed that car up, but I think that was just body damage. She'll fly through that and keep going, I would have thought, after the weekend she's had. Here we go, though. More battles here, and once again, here comes that man of the moment, Rhys Hendel Cox, back into the lead in the number 1, but into second place goes Liam Foster. Now, can he hold off Chris Simon in the closing stages? This lap 7 of 8, this is the last lap, and now what a time for Chris Simon to get ahead now and try to hold off Rhys Hendel Cox. Good battle between these two now.
Yeah, it's going to be a game of cat and mouse. Aston Addy's parked up on the hill there, but I've seen a couple of smokes of smoke out of Chris's car, so let's hope it can hold on for a few more corners. And now we've got Liam Foster going down the inside. No, not quite.
Oh, go on, Liam! And he's almost got it, but the line is with the champion, and as he holds the inside line, back comes Simon. But good running by Foster. They're side by side as they head up back the hill. This is the last chance. Here they come, side by side. We're going to have another classic finish here by the looks of things. The 48 of Foster coming through now, up through 9 and 10. Here at Pukekohe, he looks at his mirrors. Don't look at your mirrors, go straight, son. Here we go, into the line, and try as he might, I don't think Rhys Hendel Cox is going to do it. One more corner to go. Liam Foster waited for the perfect time to take the lead at the restart of the safety car, and he's going to come to the line. It's going to be nip and tuck, but it's going to be, or is it? Liam Foster's got it, or has he? Oh, another photo finish, and my timing board says Chris Simon got it. Chris Simon wins the race over Rhys Hendel Cox. Liam Foster, what will he say about that? He had it, and then he didn't.
No, you're right, and look at that gap. But there's only 3/100th of a second in there. That's exceptionally close. And Chris Simon, it looks like he's got some sort of mechanical problem. Lots of smoke coming out there, but he's managed to go and steal the win.
Lighton Street School take Monday off. Chris Simon is your winner. Well, don't take Monday off. But anyway, he's the winner. Rhys Hendel Cox is second place, the champion. Liam Foster will be massively disappointed with third place, having done all the hard work. Amy Smith started third. She finished fourth. Louis Redshaw took fifth place. That's a good result for him. Ron Carter in sixth. Liam Nicholson seventh. Kian Davey in eighth place. Bree Morris in the end finished where she started in ninth position despite losing the front end of the car. And sadly, Matthew McCrutchen not finishing the race a lap down.
Yeah, that's a bit gutting for Matthew and those two rookies who got entangled up there. Great result for Chris Simon to take another race win, and for Rhys Hendel Cox. Here's another look at that, at the race start.
Yeah, great race start, and in the early stages, Chris Simon was holding off Hendel Cox. The pair of them pulling away at the front, and Amy Smith doing a good job of holding off Liam Foster for third place. That was the start of the race, and the complexion, as I thought it might, would change once that safety car came out, because we had one major incident. Amy Smith losing out to third place there when Foster went through. Here was the big incident. Leo Scott taking out Matthew McCrutchen. I feel for the 16-year-old because he had nothing to do with that. He couldn't get away from it. But in the end, they both got stuck in the gravel. That brought out the safety car. At the restart, Hendel Cox looking in the mirrors, and well he might, because Simon was coming and coming fast. He took the lead. Then Liam Foster got into the mix with him as well, and they were keeping an eye on each other. There's Bree Morris losing the front of her car, but she won't care about that. She's already lost it once this weekend, so she marches on to ninth place. But in the end, Foster so close to winning that, but in the end, it all goes to Chris Simon.
Oh, Liam Foster almost spoils the party, but Symes gets the win, and Hendel Cox with still plenty of work to do. But that's what Formula First racing is all about. Close, tight, and a little bit of biff and barge as well. Good on you, Brie Morris, for getting out there and keeping going with that nose cone flying off elsewhere. Don't forget the Best Bars Toyota 86 Championship not too far away. Later on this afternoon here on day one of the Speedworks Motorsport NZ Championship Series. One of the youngest drivers in the field is Cambridge's